From one headline story to another now, Kenya's Supreme Court has ruled that William Ruto was properly elected president of Kenya. The opposition leader Raila Odinga launched a petition challenging the outcome of the results. And now the country is now preparing for the inauguration of William Ruto, which will take place next week. Let's speak now to SABC International News editor Sophie Mokoena. Oh, Sophie, a decisive judgment that paved the way for William Ruto to resume office next week. Many thought, though, that the four commissioners who distanced themselves from the results had a case. What is the court saying regarding that?
Well, clearly, the court was very frank and very clear that the role they played during the preparations to elections, during elections and post-elections, during the counting and the tallying in terms of the electoral center, spoke to the people who had confidence in the processes and who participated in the processes. And therefore, they can't come now at a short notice just before the elections are announced and cry foul or make statements that challenge the credibility of the election processes. But I think it's better if we get what the Chief Justice had to say about this matter, because she was very clear that the four commissioners were really out of order.
Have not placed before this court any information or documents showing that the elections were either compromised or that the result would have substantially differed from that declared by the chairperson. Critically, they have not explained why they participated in a verification process when they knew that it was opaque up until the last minute. Indeed, at the Serena Hotel press briefing, the four commissioners acknowledged that thus far the entire election had been managed efficiently and credibly.
Interesting remarks there from the court. Now, the relationship between the outgoing, in fact, President Uhuru Kenyatta and the incoming president has been quite frosty. And has there been any word from the president-elect in terms of his relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta?
Well, the president-elect tried to reach out to President Uhuru Kenyatta, saying that he was going to call President Kenyatta, even though it has been quite a long time they haven't spoken, because you know very well that Uhuru Kenyatta was very clear. He was campaigning for Raila Odinga, even using state resources to ensure that Raila Odinga is victorious after elections. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. But when you listen to what Uhuru Kenyatta said earlier on, just a few minutes ago, we received a video where he made a statement. You can hear from the tone of his voice that this is an aggrieved person, almost indirectly questioning the decision or the verdict by the Supreme Court, saying that Kenyans must continue to interrogate the fact that in 2017 it was a different judgment and now you have this judgment, and question whether there's consistency. Almost saying he expected that the current members of the Supreme Court, the judges, were going to come up with a verdict similar to 2017, where elections were nullified, forgetting that after that nullification of the elections, thanks to the observers who were there and also that outcome of the Supreme Court in 2017, the Electoral Commission was taken to task. The then Supreme Court Chief Justice calling on the Electoral Commission to ensure that they put in place systems that will ensure that elections are always credible. And therefore, this is what they've done. You know that tallying was done at the point where you received results in different polling stations and centers, and then you had to transmit those results to the tally center at Bombay in Nairobi. But then you had to bring those original documents for verification, and therefore the system was very, very tight. Of course, there will be questions here and there, but clearly in all the arguments, even those who supported Raila Odinga, other people who petitioned the Supreme Court, whatever they were arguing didn't hold water with the Supreme Court.
Definitely no love lost there. I mean, how has this judgment, though, been received around the continent, especially when you look at the lessons that can be learned as many countries around the continent are going to their elections next year?
Simple lesson. When you get someone to endorse you, it must be someone who's very credible, someone people are still happy with, who is the incumbent. And I think the biggest mistake by Raila Odinga was to agree that he must receive endorsement from the incumbent who was losing credibility on the ground. And therefore, even the incumbent, Uhuru Kenyatta, using state resources to pump him. And unfortunately, this issue the Kenyans didn't really like. But also the Kenyans were rejecting the dynasty politics, where you have a particular family dictating in terms of what needs to happen in Kenya, both political, economical, and security-wise. And then the reaction, many people have wished William Ruto well. We know that our president and many other leaders did that immediately after announcement of results. It looks like he's well received. But perhaps let's take a listen at what he had to say in terms of democracy on the continent, particularly during election, where you have a situation where people don't want to accept election results, and perhaps taking a swipe at his predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Democracy is expected to unite a people, strengthen their society, and improve their institutions, and must not become an acrimonious, fearful, and desperate enterprise. We offered alternative visions and missions and submitted to the sovereign decision of the citizens of Kenya. We are only competitors, not enemies. We vied to unite and strengthen Kenya, not to divide and weaken it. I therefore consider all of my competitors to be my worthy compatriots. Kenyans are united in the quest for a better society that is kinder to its children, gentler on the vulnerable, respectful of their rights, and committed to serving them. Those who voted for me, as well as those who voted for my competitors, want the same thing for themselves and for their children. I honor this aspiration, and I am committed to do and to rise up early, work hard all day, every day, so that we can realize it together.
All right, talking about wanting the same things, and even those who voted for the opponents wanted the same things. It's going to be interesting to see also how things proceed going forward. And really, this is one to watch next week and see how this next chapter for William Ruto really does unfold. Let's thank you there for your time. That is our international news editor, Sophie Mokoena.